Let's begin today's Vanguard news with Bushiroad actually fulfilling their promise by giving a verdict and banning the accused cheater, which we'll hide by the name The Long Man, at last year's World Championships for 2 years, as well as taking away his placement and prizes. Makes you wonder, how would they reclaim a prize card if the player sells or trades it away before the infraction? With how big of a PR nightmare this has become, the issues in my country's BSF were probably forgotten and perhaps even ignored by Bushiroad at this point, just so they don't get even more bad press. It's finally time to talk about everyone's favorite mechanic in the D series, the 2 new OverTriggers in DZSS01. Spiritual King of Bright Sky Merrids and Bleer is an OverTrigger whose additional effect makes you draw a card for every 2 of your opponent's open rearguard and guardian circle. Then retire all of your opponent's rearguard and guardians. In addition to the OverTriggers draw, this can potentially let you draw 3 more times, even more in premium format, if the opponent uses an Axel marker. This feels as though this was made for Blankmeyer in mind, as it will always take out 2 of your opponent's rear guards, while decks like Sienna will suddenly get her extra crit and drive check once you nuke the opponent's field. Take note that this will not negate the effects of sentinels or cards like Liel, even if this card retires them. And the only deck that will probably not fear this card is Eva, as her set order prevents you from killing off her reverse harem. Finally, Spiritual King of Night Sky Nixless Zelia is an OverTrigger whose additional effect makes you add a card in your damage zone to your hand, then call up to 1 unit card from your hand, and it gets 10k power. If you couldn't decide between using Idosphero or Valnaut previously, here's an OverTrigger that sort of combines both, as it gets you an additional card by healing it and calling an extra rearguard attacker. If Merrids and Bleer felt like it was made for Blankmeyer, this card feels it was made for Eziel, since this gives you another way of cheating death besides its divine skill. Using this Ingriffo Gilla will make you break even when speeding up your OverTrigger turn by giving yourself damage. Besides that, not many decks could really synergize with this card, since you can barely manipulate your damage anyway. And that concludes this Vanguard news without the bullshit. Special thanks to my Patreon members for continuing to support my content creation. Be sure to subscribe and let me know in the comments how all of the Spiritual King OverTriggers symbolizes each of the 4 original triggers in the game.